Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. We are the heartbeat of the Cincinnati Bengals. We are excited to be here. I know I am. I know Maan is as well. This is something that's been in the making for the last couple of years, Maan. We want to give a big shout out to our buddies Ace and Zim for bringing us on to the Wincinnati family. Again, we are very excited. We're going to be here every Wednesday night for all of your Bengal information and needs. We're excited. Again, we want this to be a fan-driven podcast. So we're going to be getting the fans involved with the podcast itself. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself real quick. As I said, my name is Jake. I am excited to be here. I've been a Bengal fan now for 40 years. I was 5 years old in 1981 when the Bengals played the Chargers in the Freezer Bowl, the AFC Championship. That was my first experience with the Bengals. And growing up in Florida, a lot of people couldn't understand it. I don't know if it was because of the helmet, but I fell in love with the Bengals, and I have been a Bengal fan ever since. Again, like I said, I grew up in Florida. Maan and I both live in the same county in Florida. We're on the east coast of Florida. So if you know where Cocoa Beach, that's where we are. I am a head football coach at a local high school. I've been coaching high school football now for right around 20, 21 years. I've been a head coach for about 8 or 9 of those years. And it just so happened that on my way to LA for the Super Bowl this year, somebody somewhere put Ace and I on the same plane at the same time, only a seat apart from each other. And the next 6 hours, Ace and I talked about our beloved Bengals, and my wife sat next to us, ready to find a parachute to jump out of the plane, I'm sure, after 6 hours of listening to Bengal talk. But I am excited to be here. Maan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Jake, how are you, bud? I'm really excited about this. Like you said, it's 2 years in the making. We talk about this all the time, and I'm just excited that it's starting. Thanks to Ace and Zim for helping us out. I've been a Bengal fan for 40 plus years. I was raised in southern West Virginia. Not a lot of Bengal fans in my area. It's basically Steeler country there, but I rebelled and I decided to become a Bengal fan and moved to Florida in the 80s. It was tough. You never got to see the Bengals at that time. You had to basically watch Dan Marino and the Dolphins. But I love my Bengals. I love talking Cincinnati. And I'm really, really excited about this. I'm currently in my 25th year in the fire service. Been a fireman for over 25 years. I have a few more years to go. I'm also a paramedic instructor at a local college here in the Space Coast of Florida. I love doing that, but my passion is the Bengals. And let's do this.
Let's do this. Let's start this thing off. We want the first episode. We are calling it the wish list because tomorrow, Maan, is our Christmas in April, something that you and I love every year. The NFL draft is tomorrow night. Usually we are excited about the very beginning of the draft because that's where we're picking the last couple years. But to be fair, we've had a couple really good drafts the last couple years. Now we're picking 31. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about our wish list, what our beloved Bengals should do at 31. Obviously, we've heard that our man Lapp, usually his words are gold. He's saying we are going to trade out of 31. So we're going to talk about that. If they do, what do we see happening? But we're going to talk about our wish list tonight for the draft, Maan. And then we're going to talk about our wish list because in less than 2 weeks, it's our other Christmas in spring, and that is a schedule release. We're going to talk a little bit, Maan, about what you and I would like to see when that schedule is released here in a couple weeks. All right, so let's get right to it, Maan. We are picking this year at 31. I wish we were picking at 32, just like all Bengal fans do. But Maan, tell me where our needs are right now and what you think our Bengals should do at 31.
I think it's actually very easy. I just don't see how they can't pick a cornerback in the first round. If they end up trading back, I get it. That's all right. But that first pick early in the second round, wherever it's at, it has to be defensive back. I get it. We do have other needs, but I just analyze this roster and I look at, we have some quality players back there, but the depth is really questionable. I think it's going to be a defensive back. It could be a safety. Von Bell, Jesse Bates. Last year, their contract. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. If it did happen, it might upset Jesse Bates. But I think defensive back is a key. Also, defensive tackle, losing Ogunjobi. I think he had over 500 snaps last year, maybe more than that. They need to replace that, and they need some quality depth there. We have 8 picks in this draft. I wouldn't be surprised if this team uses 4 of those picks on defensive backfield. That's my hot take there. 2 cornerbacks and 2 safeties. That's what I see happening. Also, a sneaky need on this team, wide receiver. I get it. Our top 3, easily the best in the NFL. Yeah, we can make arguments, other units, but Chase, Higgins, Boyd, to me, are the best in football. We don't have much after that. I mean, heaven forbid one of those guys gets nicked up. We don't have a lot of depth. That's another key to our success last year. We were relatively healthy.
Very
and it's,
healthy.
I don't know how it's, I hope that happens again this year, but we definitely need a good wide receiver 4 and 5. And what's coming around the corner, contract time for Higgins and Burrow. So I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a wide receiver on day 2.
Well, and I was just going to say that, I love my offensive guys in the first round.
Right.
It's a running joke every year that Jake wants a receiver in the first round.
You sure do.
I'm going to say this right now. This is the last time I'm going to say it on the pod, but I was Team Chase. Maan was Team Sewell.
Okay.
So that's
I apologize.
So I'm going to go a different direction here, because for me at 31, if Linderbaum is sitting there, he's your guy. I think the Bengals have got to run to the podium if Linderbaum is there, because Linderbaum is going to set this offensive line for the next 5 to 6 years. For me, our Bengals, it scares me, and because I know I've heard it on Zim and Ace's pod as well. It scares me because the Bengals have a very hard time on developing offensive linemen, but Mr. Linderbaum is sitting there. The Bengals are running to the podium at 31 because, again, I think it solidifies the offensive line. I don't mind us trading back, but that always scares me. I think right now our Bengals are in a situation where, and this is kind of uncharted territory for us, because right now we are really able to pick best player available. We have an entire Super Bowl roster returning. The guys that aren't returning, we upgraded at those positions. So for me, if Linderbaum is there, he is the best player available for what we need as a football team. You can move Karras now over to guard, and now the offense is solidified. I know you're a big Hill guy, but to me, at this point, it's not a reach with Linderbaum. You go and get him if he's there. Now, if you trade back, I completely understand going defensive back. Like you said, Von Bell's got a year left. Hopefully, Jesse, we extend him. But you never know how those things work. And right now it seems to be at a standstill between Jesse and the Bengals organization. So for me, if we do go defensive back, I love going safety here. Obviously, Hamilton's not going to be there. He's going to be probably a top 15 pick. But the kid from Michigan, the kid from Penn State, if those guys drop to 31, I could see the Bengals going right there at safety. But I also like Booth, and I also like Elam. I think those 2 corners can help us out. But for me, Mon, and you and I have talked about this before, I'm not sure a rookie corner is our answer for that other starting corner spot. We re-signed Eli Apple, but that is not starting corner money. You and I both know that. I like Eli Apple. I think Eli Apple was a big part of this Super Bowl run. I think without Eli Apple, we are probably not in the Super Bowl. I know he gave up a couple touchdowns, but Eli Apple, I think, is serviceable. I'm just not sure at 31 you're going to find the answer to corner. We talked about this earlier, too, about maybe the Bengals trading and going to get a vet corner or just a free agent guy like a Joe Hayden, and then maybe we can develop a young corner there.
Yeah, they're going to need to do that. I'm just looking at this roster. For example, last year, free agency this year, we got Kappa, we got Collins, we have Karras. All right. They replaced 3 guys that started a lot of games last year. Yeah, I get it. They struggled, but at least they have multiple games starters in the NFL. Look at the defensive line. I mean, we have Kareem that's played some games, some snaps. We've had, Shelvin, I know he's still developing. We have Josh Tupou. We have guys, Osai's coming back from injury. We have some quality material there in case some of the Hubbard gets nicked up or Hendrickson. Same thing with the linebackers, Bocce, Bailey, Akeem Gaither is coming back. We have some quality depth there in case Logan Wilson has to miss a game or two. I just don't see that on the back end. I don't see it at all. It's not there. And that's what scares me. I don't want the defensive backfield to become our fatal flaw for this season. Listen, I want these guys to all stay healthy, but it is the NFL. And guys get nicked up. I just don't see that quality depth there. And I think they really need to attack it. They need to attack it. Free agency, they probably have some guys in mind after the draft. I hope they do. But we definitely need a few more pieces back there.
Yeah, and I think, again, to me, it goes back to safety. I mean, look at the back end of this defense, right? We have Wilson, we have Bates, we have Von Bell, and then after that, we're, like you said, if one of those guys gets banged up, I like Wilson. He's great on special teams, but I don't think Wilson, we want to see him playing a lot of snaps on defense. So for me, I don't disagree with you. I like the idea of defensive back. I'm just not sure corner is the ideal pick there. Again, you can trade back into the second round, and that's what I'm talking about. Let's go get a safety, maybe with that first, second round pick. Now, obviously, too, for me, we need to get some capital if we're trading out of 31, especially if there's a quarterback or someone sitting there that one of these other teams we know is going to come up and try to get. So, I like what you said. We had talked about it earlier, second and a fourth this year, and then a second next year. I think that is ideal. If the Bengals get offered that, it's really going to be tough for them not to take that. I think you have to.
If a Ritter drops back, somebody comes, at 31, listen, a team could say, hey, let's move up. We'll get that 5th-year option on him. The Bengals can say, hey, if you want this pick, we want more than a 4th. Some team could get silly. Maybe I'm dreaming, but hopefully a team would offer a second next year. I think the Bengals should jump on that. And that happened,
going back, I've seen some mocks with us taking defensive line. I just think right now, as far as depth goes, I really like our depth at defensive line. I think defensive line is one of our deepest positions. Again, for me, receiver is more thin than what we are at defensive line. We've talked about Tyler Boyd. We want to see that guy back. We want to see him a Bengal forever. But we got to be realistic. And, Burrow's coming up. Higgins is coming up. Chase is coming up. Those are 3 guys you have to bring back and sign. And another guy, too, is Logan Wilson. I mean, that guy has got to be on this roster for a long time. He's a generational linebacker. When you have a guy that can play in space and cover a guy like Cooper Kupp, that guy's got to be signed. You got to throw money. I know teams don't like throwing money at linebacker, but Logan Wilson is a different type of linebacker. He's today's NFL linebacker. You talked a little bit about the linebacker position. I'm a little worried about that too, to be honest with you. I mean, Jermaine Pratt, the guy played great this year. He really did. But after Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, you got Bocce, who, again, he filled in well, and Akeem Davis-Gaither, who obviously got hurt, so we didn't get to see him the entire year. So, again, linebacker, I know the Bengals are going to a
two Bailey. Don't forget Bailey's out there too, Marcus Bailey.
Marcus Bailey plays some good snaps, but
right.
I just don't – again, we talked about trying to stay healthy here. If for some reason one of those guys goes down, we could be in serious trouble at the linebacker position.
Right. Yeah, I guess what I was trying to say earlier, I get it. There is a drop off. If Logan Wilson gets hurt, Jermaine Pratt, there is a significant drop off. But at least the linebackers that would come in and play a game 2 or 3, they've had some starting experience, and I think they're capable of holding down the fort for at least 2 games. Now, obviously, I just don't see that in the defensive backfield. Okay, Mike Hilton goes down. You got Jalen Davis. Now, I forgot about Flowers. He's back, but is he more of a cornerback or a hybrid safety now? They need some more bodies back there. And I'm not just talking who was the guy 2 years ago, Sims. We don't want that. We want quality depth back there. Yeah. And we just don't have that there. Okay, look at running back. Mixon goes down. P. Ryan's good. Evans is good. I feel confident there. I don't want any of those guys to get hurt. But even on the offensive line, I get it. I know the struggles we had last year, but we had Prince 10+ starts. Adeniji 10+ starts. You had numerous other guys. You had DeAndre Smith, numerous starts. So, I feel comfortable if somebody gets nicked up and misses a couple games on the offensive line. If that happens in the defensive backfield, it could be a fatal flaw for this team.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I feel more comfortable now if something goes awry on the offensive line because that's those guys that you just named. Those guys should be coming in and spelling the starters. They should not be the starters. So I do feel a little bit more comfortable at the offensive line. But I go back to what I said in the beginning. If Linderbaum is there, I just can't imagine the Bengals not running up to the podium. I know you're nervous because the last couple of centers the Bengals drafted did not work in our favor. But this guy he's a glass eater. He's what Pollock wants. I think he fits the Bengals offense. And I think, again, if he's sitting there, the Bengals are going to have a very hard time not running up and getting him.
Let me ask you one quick question. Give me your one ultimate pick at 31 is Linderbaum?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mine's going to be Elam, defensive back from Florida. That's my number one choice. The other guy's a Purdue defensive end, Karlaftis. I would love to see that.
I saw a list. Lapp had put up a list, and he was one of the top guys on Lapp's list.
Yeah. Lapp was on the show last night with Ace and Zim. That was a great interview. I think what he said, I think it's going to happen. I think the Bengals will trade out. Now, I hope it's a desperate team that does something silly and gives us picks next year also.
Mon, you and I have been Bengal fans for a very long time. And that trading out thing, it's nice to say that, but you and I both know we were talking about it today, and you had reminded me the last time we did it was in '89, and we ended up drafting Eric Ball in the second round.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Listen,
he was a good player.
He was a good utility back, but my point is that you and I both know that the Bengals do not like trading out of the first round.
Right.
I love Lapp, and the guy, he knows his stuff. Like I said, most of what he says is gold. I'm going to have to see it before I believe it that the Bengals are trading out of 31. So let's go ahead. Let's move on to the schedule release. You and I we're chomping at the bit. We've talked about all of this. I am now a season ticket holder. So you and I are trying to plan out our travels. But let's talk a little bit about the schedule release. I want to hear 4 or 5 things that you want to see in less than 2 weeks when the Bengals schedule comes out. So let's talk about, Mon, tell me 4 or 5 things you want to see on the Bengals schedule.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to give you a take here. I really think this is going to happen. If the season starts on 9/11, the Reds play in Milwaukee that day. I'm calling the Bengals home opener Sunday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, man,
that's going to be – I'm going to say it, mark it down. That's going to be game 1, Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. I see that happening. It's not going to be a Monday night game because the Reds play in Cincinnati on Monday night. So I expect at least 3, maybe 4 primetime games. I'm going to give you, the Chief one. I'll give you another one. Monday Night Football, I expect the Bengals and the Bills, 2 small market teams, but I can see the Bengals being on Monday Night Football.
I agree.
A Raven game, hopefully in Cincinnati. I hope all the primetime games are in Cincinnati, but I can see that on a Sunday night. Also, it seems like it didn't happen last year, I don't think, but the Bengals and Browns always tend to play on a Thursday.
Yeah.
So those are the
And
four I
it
see.
always tends to be around Thanksgiving time, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's earlier in the season when they play Thursday, but another thing, the Bengals play the Cowboys this year in Dallas. Maybe that's a Thanksgiving game. That would be really.
When's the last time I don't even know. I don't even remember us ever playing on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think it was a few years ago against the Jets, maybe, and it was ugly. I don't think it was a good game. I may be wrong on that, but it wasn't too long ago. But I expect 4 primetime games, and yeah, I really think that game 1 is going to be Kansas City at Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football.
Well, for me, number one, and you and I talked about this earlier in the week, but for me, for us being down here in Florida, I want to see us in Tampa. I do not want to see that game moved overseas. I love all of our Bengal fans overseas. I'm sorry to say this, but I want that game in Tampa. That's always a fun road trip for you and I. We talked about it today. We reminisced the last time the Bengals were in Tampa, you and I, and we took our families with us. We had a whole group, and that was the Marvin Lewis throwing the red flag to Tampa to catch them with 12 men on the field. And we ended up winning that game 14-13, and it was a great time. And you had reminded me too, that was the Evans versus Terrence Newman. And we laughed because I remember the next day you and I went on Wikipedia, and they had Terrence Newman's
murdered
his obituary on there. But that was a great time, and it's always fun. And how awesome would it be, Maan, for you and I to see the old GOAT hand over the reins to the new GOAT, right? So watching Tom versus Joe, I want to see that live. So that's my number one. I really want us to stay in that play in New Orleans. I think that would be a fun trip as well for us. I have a player that I coached in high school who's playing for the Saints. So that would be a great game. I hope that game stays in New Orleans. And I'm like you. I love the idea of the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night. You and I always look at the Reds schedule before this schedule comes out to see if the Reds are playing that first week. And usually they are, right? Because we had 7 or 8 years in a row.
Yeah.
We were on the road. And but how awesome would it be to invite the Chiefs into the jungle and just take their soul, right? Because that would be the best. That's
what a tone setter. That would be the best tone setter for the season.
I mean, that's really what Burrow and our boys would do if they ended the Chiefs on that first game. They really, I think they take their soul. But I love that idea, and I'm with you too. I think the NFL is looking at that Bills-Bengals game and saying, okay, these are the 2 best quarterbacks right now in the AFC. I'll be honest with you. I don't even think it's close. I think it's Burrow, and I think it's Josh Allen. And after that, I think there's a gap in between those quarterbacks in the AFC. I know everybody's talking about how good the AFC quarterbacks are. To me, it's Burrow and Evans, 1 and 2. And I think after that, there's a gap. So I think the NFL is looking at that and thinking, man, oh man, this has got to be a Monday Night Football game, because really right now they are the best 2 quarterbacks, not only in the AFC, but in the NFL. Yeah. So for me, I would love to see Bills-Bengals on Monday Night Football. And then I'm with you too. I would love to see the Bengals-Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I think that would be awesome to see the Bengals play on Thanksgiving, because it's been a long time since that has happened. So let's finish the show out. You and I, again, we've been Bengal fans for, you longer than me. I've been right around 40 years, and you're,
because I'm older.
Because you're older. I wasn't going to say that. I was going to be nice, but yes, you are older and I am wiser. But let's talk about, because you and I both got to travel out to LA and watch our beloved Bengals live in the Super Bowl. And you and I both got to see the Bengals play in 81 and in 88. We didn't get to go to the game live. I was 5, and in 88, I was in 7th grade. I remember having a big Bengal party over at my house, and everyone there's either Falcons fans or Dolphins fans. But you and I got to go watch our Bengals live in the Super Bowl, and it was an awesome experience. We talked a little bit about Bengal Jim's party and how much fun that was, and I got to meet all of my childhood Bengals from that '88 team, and Rodney Holman and Stanford Jennings and Ickey Woods, Joe Kelly. I mean, what a great night that was. Bengal Jim knows how to put something together. We got to see Coolio live, right? I mean, how fun was that?
That was a blast. I got to meet my one of my all-time favorite Bengals, Isaac Curtis. What a great guy. Everybody was so kind and gracious with their time. It was just an amazing experience. I was thinking from January 2nd, that game when we beat the Chiefs in the regular season, to the Super Bowl is probably like the best 6 weeks of my life.
Oh, man.
It was just amazing. Sports week of my life, the best sports week, 6 weeks. It was just amazing. I just so much pride. And
well, let's talk about real quick, Mon. Let's talk about, because I'm not ashamed to talk about this, but so for all of our viewers out there, just to let you know, Mon and I have been watching the Bengal games together for over a decade now, right? And when we met down here, it's kind of funny how we met. We'll talk about that in another pod, but you and I, we've been watching Bengal games forever. We've been through some really rough seasons, and we've been through some fun ones. But so toward the end of each game in that playoff run, I get real nervous. I'm a nervous watcher, so I had to go outside of Mon's house in his front yard and watch the game through his front window, just because of maybe some of the things I say and the language I use. And again, I like to walk around because I'm very nervous, and I have a football, and it's just something that I'm always used to doing. And those 3 playoff games. In the Raiders game, I went outside when the Raiders were driving, interception. The next week against the Titans, same exact thing. I go outside at the end, interception. So we're playing the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and the Bengals, I go outside. I promise you, this is 100% true. I go outside, and what happens, Mon?
The Bengals started to turn around and come back.
An interception, right?
That's right.
We pick them off. I come back into the house to celebrate.
That was BJ Hill.
That was the Von Bell Jesse Bates play in overtime. Remember?
Yeah. Because I remember my brother was yelling at you, "Stay outside!"
Everybody was. I come running back in the house to celebrate with you guys, and everybody that's in the house is like, "Go back outside! Go back outside!" But what a great, I'm with you, man. What a great time that was, and just reflecting on the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, you and I were both heartbroken, and your son went out, your oldest son, Luke. Thank God for him, because you and I walked out of the stadium and we were just in this daze. I don't even remember a lot of it. Luke gets us into a Uber. I don't even remember driving home. I was so heartbroken. But again, what a great experience that was for us.
Yeah, just when that AFC Championship game ended, I had 160 messages on my phone. And that 2-week period, there was so much kindness, and it was just so much stuff going on. My friends calling me, "Man, your Bengals are in the Super Bowl," and then people rallied and got me to the Super Bowls. It was just great, and to be there and to be a part of that. They didn't win, but it's something I'll never forget. It was a great weekend.
And really, and you and I talked about it. I've watched a little bit of highlights. I can barely get through it. I'll be honest, man. I have not watched the game on TV. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be able to watch the game on TV. But as I go back and reflect on it, I think how could we? It's heartbreaking, and again, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get over it. But at the same time, we're in uncharted territory, right? We have a quarterback, a second-year quarterback, coming off of an ACL injury, a horrific ACL injury, leading the Bengals to an AFC Championship and a Super Bowl in his second. Really, honestly, it's his first year, right? Because he got hurt. So really, his first full year. we go out there, we have a bunch of young guys just going out and having fun and playing football, and you got a patchwork offensive line every week. You don't know who's going to play where. And it's just the defense. I mean, the comebacks, and how can we be upset? And we will be upset for a long time, Bengal fans, but how can we be upset when this organization is starting to move in the right direction? You got the indoor facility going on. You have the Blackburns now really taking over a lot of the managerial stuff that's going on. And it seems like they're starting to understand now and bringing the life back into Cincinnati, right? And we kind of talked about before, you and I off air, we talked about our favorite Bengal teams. And mine's always been the 1988 team. I think I talked about that a little bit earlier in the pod. But mine's always been that 88 team. I'm going to say, for what this team did for the city of Cincinnati and for all of us Bengal fans, I would say right now that this year's team was my favorite team in the last 40 years.
And I agree. This is the most fun Bengal team I've seen. I don't think they're the best Bengal team. I think the 2015 team is, but that's another story.
That's another pod for sure.
But this is by far the most fun Bengal team. I just want to add something to what you said. We're entering a golden age of Bengal football. I really think that with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I think a lot of key pieces are there. Higgins. We're entering a golden age. We're going to be relevant for years with that quarterback, and it's refreshing. And listen, I really expect this team to win championships, if not multiple, over the next 10 years. I think it's going to happen.
And I think we all feel that way. And I think that's why we all walk away from that Super Bowl loss and we're all heartbroken, and we're still heartbroken, and we're still talking about it. Right. But I think we all feel the same. And that is, this Bengal team is going to be relevant for a very long time. Right. And I see multiple championships, and I know you and I are going to talk about this on another pod, but I'm always kind of, just for you guys out there, I'm always kind of known as the homer. Maan tries to be the realistic fan. I'm kind of the homer. So we'll get into that in another pod, but I'm not trying to sound like a homer when I say that I agree with you. This is the golden age right now. And you look at all the youth on this team, it's unbelievable. Guys that are making such huge impacts, and you're talking about first and second year guys. It's crazy to think that that's where we are now as a Bengals organization.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting to see.
Let me throw this out here too. I want to say this real quick, and that is, I want to ask you, what is crazier to you, that we are picking 31 this year, or that you and I are both excited about the Bengals playing in prime time? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's the Dalton Marvin error, and I don't want to be negative, but what's crazier to you, that you and I are excited about playing in prime time for the first time in 20 years, or that the Bengals are picking 31?
Let me answer that for you. Remember years ago when the schedule came out, and every time we saw a primetime game, we go loss. Okay? I'm not going to think that. Last year, I did enjoy the 1:00 games. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a lot of fun. But, I think they've earned the right to go on national TV. These players earned it, and the city has earned it. And I think the Marvin days are over when it comes to primetime games and, the problems, his record and all that. I think it's going to be all right. Now, about the draft tomorrow night, picking 31st, I'm worried about being able to stay up. The Bengals aren't going to pick until 11:30, 12 o'clock. I'll be drinking a lot of coffee.
That is past your bedtime.
I knew it was
coming. All right. Well, hey, that's our first pod. Again, it was it's just awesome to be here with a close friend of mine and be able to do this. We're going to be on every Wednesday night on the Wincinnati family. Again, a big shout out to our boys Ace and Zim for giving us this opportunity. I look forward to getting together every Wednesday night with you, Maan, and really growing this pod into something huge. Again, you've been talking about this for 2 years, and it finally has come to fruition. And again, we just need to thank Ace and Zim for giving us this opportunity to come on here and talk about our beloved Bengals. I'm Jake. He's Maan. This is the Bengals Pulse.
See you guys.
The heartbeat of the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll see you next week, guys. Hoo day, Bengal fans.
Hoo day. Peace.